But, Chad, and I'm not just saying this because he's here, Chad did the type of crash testing that nobody else had the cullions to do. They rolled a vehicle. They did it under the worst circumstances. It is a bunch of baloney to stress load the top of your ambulance to meet some phony spec when, in fact, ambulances roll over. And so he was showing this continuously to show how their Braun ambulance held up under pressure. And it was amazing the number of people who watched that. Now you're going to do a second round, right? And so here's the challenge to the industry. Can you do the same thing? We see it all the time, right, Ryan? We see ambulances torn apart like can openers. People are getting killed every day in ambulances. Alina Health System in the Minneapolis area, they went out to 3 vendors and said, here's our specs. And they bought 3 different ambulances and they tried them. I don't remember who they ended up picking, but they picked one provider then. More companies are going to do that. They're going to want safer ambulances, and as you'll see, they're going to want different things inside. And systems like Roscoe's Vision is going to be in every ambulance in the country. I got to tell you, I'm not a lover of some of the ambulances that have cameras all around, and I got to look here and there. I want something that's right near my rearview mirror. I want something that's easy for me to see, and I want to know what's going on in the back of my ambulance, because if somebody's attacking my attendant, I want to know about it. And technology has made this very adaptable. So let's talk about some ambulances. We used to think they were just worried about cab and chassis, but they're worried about a lot more. They're worried about the safety of that cab and that chassis. We see the horrible effects every day through our newsline of people that are getting killed. A couple weeks ago in Long Island, man, they hit a bridge abutment, and I don't think anybody was going to survive that. But if there was somebody in the back, they would have survived because of the structural integrity of the box. And of course, those of you that are into selling things, the more gadgets and lights and sirens, sometimes the better. People have money to be able to do that, but yet they won't buy a secure lockbox, right? They'll buy some smaller version of that. And of course, lighting and everything else is improved. The advent of LED lighting has saved the workload on our engines and our electrical systems. So we see a lot of that. But I walked around FDIC, and what caught my eye was the Dodge vehicle. And I don't know whether that's becoming popular or not, but my suspicion is it might. Because all I'm hearing around the country is people are having some problems with existing chassis, and they're looking for alternatives. And this is one that was built for Phoenix. And what I liked specifically was the cab, because you can see, and anybody who's ever ridden in an ambulance, this is a very spacious cab. And it's real good for a 6'4" paramedic, and it's good for somebody who has to sit in their butt all day in an ambulance. So I suspect, just comfort-wise, I really looked at that and said, I think that could be a trend. I don't know. Then I looked inside, and I saw that they still had a squad bench. They still had awkward seats. They still had seats that were way too big. Look at how much space that takes up. They're trying to come up with seats to allow you to sit closer to your patient, but when you go in during a code or something or a trauma at a scene, it's in your way, and you still can't move around with heavy turnout gear on. So we still have a lot of lessons to learn. There's still a lot of wasted space. Where I put that yellow, that's wasted space. And I've lectured to Chad and other people about smaller seats, smaller bases, because I need that space inside my ambulance, and people are listening. Jarrett just got back from Retmobile and flew to Germany, and they've been doing this for a long time. We don't need compartments this thick, folks. We need them that thick. We need more room to walk around our patients. We need everything secured on the way to the hospital, because I don't need somebody sucking a O2 bottle in the face. So this is just a look at some of the designs that have been in Europe for a long time. This is a combination stair chair, attendant seat. It locks in and it serves a dual purpose. So you're taking care of a patient in a comfortable chair, but it's also something that you could take out and put a patient in and transport a patient in that position on the way to the hospital. That's an efficient use of space. For the first time ever, Seattle Fire Department medic units are going to have a side door. They're redesigning their ambulances. They've been, stalwarts for years, and they're going to redesign their ambulances, but what they've had for many years has been those cabinets that open up and allow you to get what you need and put it back in. And that'll still stay in their design. But you can see here is essentially what we have is a doctor's office on wheels. And when the Germans were in our office last week, they said, Oh, everybody was talking about, oh, we still have to get up and move around. They said, we don't. We sit in our seat, and the patient comes up on a platform and go over to us. And if we want to work on their legs, we move the platform. They're secured, we're secured, we work on their legs. If we want to attend to their airway, the platform slides down, so the patient moves. And I think we'll see some of that happen again as well, especially since our specs are changing. Now, this was inside, was this your vehicle? This was inside one of the Braun prototype vehicles that was actually not a prototype, it was built for a hospital system, right? But I still wasn't in love with 100% of the design. And what people said at FDIC is, well, I don't like everything about it, but I do like some of the concepts. Now, the concept that Furno has is that instead of cabinets, you will have a kit that can come out at a scene, at an MCI, or it could come out for restocking, and those individual red areas come out by magnets and for restocking. So things are changing. There's going to be more of a European look. And then you see that the base on that seat, much smaller, right? So we're getting it. We're getting rid of stealing space in ambulances. And this was another vehicle. Was this the Furno prototype? So this was at the Furno area. And Furno came out 2 years ago at FDIC and said, this is what we envision. And everybody said, oh, you'll never be able to do that. And this was the vehicle that they had on the floor. Now, note the difference. When I was here in 2004 for the Olympics, and I rode with crews, I guess it was American LaFrance was the first one to bring sprinters over, and they still had squad benches and a stretcher and this much room in between, and they assigned a brand new sprinter to every venue and allowed the local agencies to bring their own unit and park it next to it. And I was bunked up with the American LaFrance rep in a dormitory, and I'd come back at night and he'd say, how do they like my units? I said, you want honest opinion? They say they suck. Why? Because you can't move in it. You got to get rid of the squad bench. Oh, well, like KKK specs, etc. So we've gotten away from that now. So there are more sprinters. When I was in Seattle, AMR uses completely sprinters, and they're getting rid of their squad benches. And you see where that yellow box is, the seats allow space. So like the London ambulances, the seat folds up. You work on your patient, you do what you have to do, you're ready to go to the hospital, bloop, put the seat down like a flight attendant does. Those are crash-worthy seats. That's coming, folks. More and more people, as they see it, as they experience it, and that lever allows them to turn it, move forward, start an IV, etc. You see that wasted space that we had before? It's disappeared. I could now put a kit or something else underneath there. What used to be a whole area underneath that seat is now replaced by a smaller pivot. And I think that's an EVS seat, isn't that? So EVS is even listening. Okay, much different appeal. There's a new group, USSC group. We sat in their seats, right, Ryan? You could take a nap in those seats. They were the most comfortable seat I ever sat in. And it has an integral child restraint system in it. They're coming. They're coming to this industry. And what I like about this group is they're listening. They talk to us and they say, what should we do? Get rid of that big base. Okay, what else should we do? The bottom has to go up. It has to pivot. It has to do this, that, and the other. Really good. Might be a little more expensive, I think, but even their harness system is really good. You know where they got their start? Putting seats in Humvees and other military vehicles. They have seat harnesses that when an explosion occurs, there's a jettison pack that tightens the straps up immediately for the soldier. Now, we're not going to have that for EMS, but when a jolt comes of a certain degree or a certain amount of forces, those straps will tighten up. We might even be able to satisfy Naveen Levick. I'm not sure, but we might.